Wonderful morning to viewers across the world. It's Ayo Adams on the sports segment of the Weekend Show. And I'm running you through some of the major headlines that have happened across the world of sports. Well, we'll start with, in football, we have Sergio Busquets. Barcelona living midfield maestro legend has now announced his retirement at the end of the season after 18 years at the club. He has won 31 trophies and has played over 700 times for the Catalan club. Sergio Busquets will be departing the Catalan capital at the end of the season, well, seemingly because it's time to move on and there are other young stars in the team to take up the mantle of leadership. Well, quickly to tennis. The Italian Open is now on in Rome as top seeds have been knocked out in the WTA Women Tours. Sabalenka, who just won the last ATP Tour, and Jessica Pegula were both knocked out in the second round of the tournament. Well, proceeding to the third round, we have world number one Novak Djokovic, who proceeded yesterday into the third round alongside Yannick Sinner. That is the Italian player number one on tour. We also have certain players who have also progressed on tour also. Carlos Alcaraz will be taking on his third round match also this weekend alongside other magnificent players coming on tour playing the Italian Roma Open. There was also a special appearance during the Novak Djokovic match. I mean, you know what to expect. It was a special one. Jose Murillo coming on court to watch one of his top players, Novak Djokovic, on tour. Well, moving quickly to basketball, we have the Lakers, who has now defeated the Golden State Warriors in Game 6 series. They've now advanced into the Western Conference Finals, defeating them in a 1-2-2-1-0-1 at Game 6. Well, I'm not alone in the studio. We'll be talking about youth development with some of the colleagues from the Npfl, the Nigeria Premier Football League, here in the studio, talking about the youth development in football and also how the Npfl Laliga Under 15 Promises Championship 2023 season commenced and ended. I'm joined in this studio by Lanre Ogunjobi, Senior Advisor on Sponsorship and Marketing for the Npfl, and Uche George, Npfl Legal Aid Compliance Officer. Good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good morning.
Well, I'll start with you, Lanre. Let's quickly, let's run through it. The 2023 championship was an amazing sight. It was great to see, how the event panned out in its fifth season. Overall, how would you assess how the tournament went in Ikene, and how was the environment like with the boys and the crew?
Good morning once again. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah.
Like you rightly said, it was a great turnout, great event. I mean, we had 14 Premier League teams who were part of this, and it was great. I mean, our sponsors were a big part of it. Our social media presence was great as well. You understand, we discovered loads of talents as usual, which we do. We had our under 15 national team coaches that were present there as well. All in all, it was really a great turnout. I mean, and it's great for the football development of Nigeria and for the league.
Yeah.
So very great.
So speaking of football development, let me come to you, Uche. Okay. As a compliance officer at the Npfl, one thing we usually see in youth tournaments is, some of these coaches, some of these technical advisors, some of this technical crew for the teams find ways to flout the rules. The age gap is one thing that people find their way to maneuver around. We've even seen in some of the major competitions across world football, the under 17 currently ongoing had a stricken rule that if you have 5 players who are more than the age of the stipulated age, you will be sent back home. So, how was the process like cutting the kids, the ones that are young, away from the ones that are older, even though we know that they'll find a way to maneuver the process? We are not at the level of the MRI yet, which speeds up the process, but what was the technical team on ground able to mitigate that error?
First of all, it's an under 15 competition, so that gave us a leeway to restrict it to school-age children, because the average Nigerian 15-year-old is supposedly supposed to be in secondary school. Yeah. So one of the requirements was it's not enough to provide your birth certificate. You have to also come with your last result from school. So that was one of the other measures. Of course, we used the general physical appearance obviously, but sometimes appearance can be deceiving. But I think that one in itself helped us narrow a lot of things down. But then again, we also sensitized the coaches, because generally everybody's here to win. We had to let them realize this is developmental football. The reason they are trying to cheat is because they are trying to win. We have to let them realize that participation is the prize. It's not about just lifting up a trophy. We encourage them to change their mindset, because a player, because we've seen certain teams, because not every team actually does this. We've seen in the previous edition where a particular team comes and they play good football, but they are the whipping boys. Now, in the next edition, they come, the players have matured, the coaches have matured, they've gathered experience, and it reflects in the next edition. So we've seen that in this one we just concluded. Teams that were not as strong in the previous edition, progressing some of those players from the prior editions coming on and experiencing improvement. So that's how.
What I said, an example was Plateau, the best fellas.
Yeah.
You know, those boys have been there right from there. You know, they've never got into the next stage, and this one they made it to the finals. I mean, you could see the growth of those boys and everything. So that's what this program is all about, development. We're in a situation where in the nearest future we can say, yeah, this guy he went through the ranks, you know, did this from this football. You understand? So yeah.
Well, talking about going through the ranks and going through development, we've seen that across the world, across the global football, you know, development and youth football is one of the stepping stages, you know, and stepping points for young footballers. I mean, particularly the Npfl Laliga and the 15 promises produced players such as, Akiyama, who was caught for the Super Eagles for the qualification match against Ghana. Well, sadly, it wasn't used, and sadly, we didn't qualify. But, you know, that's what developmental football is generally, to be able to groom these lads, these kids, from a very young age. And like which you rightly mentioned, it's not just there's no cash prize involved. The participation is the cash prize, depending that, you get to be amongst your age and peer groups for a total of 2-3 weeks, enjoying your environment. But these participations will not be possible without notable backings, partnership and sponsorships. From the title name, we see we call it the Npfl Laliga on the 15 promises, which has been rightly backed by some of the biggest brands across the country. So coming to you, Larry, it's been a success story so far. Seeing a couple of years ago, there were barely any major sponsors. 2 years down the line, there are now major sponsors, namely MTN and ValueJet. How were you able to proceed and reach out to these top brands? Because one thing that the Nigerian football has not given itself, we can't hide it from the media, is the fact that they've not created an avenue for sponsors to say, look, this is a quality product and outfit that I want to invest my money in. We all know how investors look. What's the ROI? What am I getting back? You understand? And if your visual preferences are not as great, a sponsor isn't coming in. So what were the leading talking points that brought these major bodies on board?
Like you rightly said, few years ago, it was something that was just being run by the management, putting our funds in to run this thing. And, we thought, oh, well, that's a football thing, you understand? Football is meant to be entertainment, you understand? Why don't we look into bringing sponsors on board, you understand? Why don't we look into giving them visibility? So I approached ValueJet and approached MTN as well for the last edition, which we had in Kenya as well. And it was a thing, okay, let's just see what you guys can do. So, put my team together, we decided, okay, we're going to start showing more of these things, you understand? We're going to create more visibility, our social media page and everything. I mean, it was something which they loved, and that's what sponsors want to see. They want to see things whereby they're getting traction, they're getting visibility. And for these seasons on and everything, you understand, we did the same thing as well. And I make bold to say that we had, from our YouTube, from our Instagram, from our Facebook, we had over combined close to 70,000 viewers and everything. I mean, just in the space of 1 month tournament. So it was something that was great. And MTN, for example, they are keen on being part of this success story. In fact, there's a documentary which is going to be coming on, which they're going to be making on these kids, because they want something like in the future, they
can always track back.
They can track back, make reference to it. I know there's ValueJet as well, which is owned by Honorable Commissioner. It's a big football of youth development and everything. You can see it's wonderful. Complex right there in Kenya and everything. So it bought into the idea as well. I'm like, okay, yes, we're willing to make these kids grow. And we know youth development is the bedrock. You understand? For any football, you understand, federation, everything. So we capitalized on that. I mean, they loved it. I know even from last season when we had MTN on board to do this for us, we signed an MOU like this season, we're going to go bigger. One of the telco companies approached us. I'm like, no, you guys would love to what you did, so we're willing to put X amount of money into this. But we're like, okay, it's not about the money at this time. I mean, we signed an MOU with someone. We want people that they believed in us, you understand? And they're getting that
integrity and credibility.
Exactly. So it's not just the funds. It's, gradually we believe we're going to get there.
Yeah. Gradually, we're going to get there. Hopefully, we eventually get there. And one of the most important things to anybody watching, to anybody who has a sport outfit, is to create an avenue that to sponsors will be able to come. We can't write out the fact that for sport, financial backing and capability is one of the most important and intricate parts of its development. And for that to happen, you have to have a credible output, a credible source of information and visibility. I was on ground, and some of the media houses reached out to me, and some people reached out to me like, we've not seen this on national TV. You know, you work on AIT, we've not even seen it on air. You know, and that's why, you know, we created package at the end of the tournament to create a package for it, and that's what, you know, visibility has caused from the social media. So back to you, Uche, talking about development of football. You know, the Golden Eagles just got knocked out. That means they're not going to the World Cup. The under-20s did not qualify for the World Cup. The only World Cup we've seen in our Super Eagles also did not qualify for the World Cup. They just, you know, sound like a broken record. The only person going to the World Cup now, I think, is that's the Women's World Cup.
Female,
that's what we're banking on now. And if you look at it generally, when the boys crashed out yesterday, I was on the social media feeds, and I could see people were just going all out, and they were angry, people were lashing out. But for the very first time, I was happy that they're kids. You know, you could see the mistakes were there to be made. You could see that they were trying to, you know, and that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
So now, generally looking at how, from that angle, because, you know, we're also looking at the fact that at the end of the day, these kids, you know, have a success story into the national team.
Yeah.
Current challenges facing the Nigerian football. What are those current challenges facing the football that is affecting the youth development, and how can they get better?
Okay, I will start by addressing the issue of the feedback, the way people are reacting to the loss. It reemphasizes what I was trying to say earlier. People are emphasizing about winning. Now we're not going to the World Cup. The KPIs generally, the key performance indicators of what people expect as the result of development is a bit skewed. People just want to see we won, and that's it. And that's where the desperation for cheating and all that comes from. But like you mentioned, this is the first time in a while where we've had age-appropriate players going into the tournament. They have a coach that has progressed them. I think we should just look at these people should move to the next phase. The next national team after this from under 17 is under 20. A majority of these players should be able to progress into the next stage. So if we bring it back to the Npfl, during the under 15 championship, we had the under 15 national team coaches there. They were scouting. And that's how we expect it to be. We expect that going forward, these players will make up a majority of the under 15 national team, and they will gradually progress through the ages. Of course, some will join up, some will drop out. It's just the way it should flow. So that's, I feel like it's not just about the coaches and we, the administrators. I feel even the fans should also, we should gradually, through the media, sensitize them on what to expect. We should be tracking the players now and see where they will be 2 years, 3 years' time. Like we've had players from this under 15 competition that are now playing for the first teams of different clubs in the league. That's how we should actually be tracking progress, not who won the cup.
Yeah.
We've had situations in the past where a player can participate, win highest goal scorer, MVP, after a couple of years it fizzles out.
Yeah.
That's not progress.
That's not progress.
It's short term.
Yeah.
Developmental football is long term. I think we should change our mindset in the way we see things, and that for me is key.
Yeah.
And just to chip in on what I said, and from this under 15, I mean, there's a couple of players, for example, for Remo Stars, they've got promoted to the first team. Yeah. And even for older Npfl teams, we've got a couple of players that have progressed to the first team. In fact, one of them has scored a winning goal. I mean, so those success stories, those are great things. This is what we're looking at and everything. So, I mean, it's,
well, it's developmental football, and the basis and the rudiments of it is to take these kids, you know, from step 8 to step 2, you know. And then so finally, guys, you know, we've seen the package that was put together this year. It was really commendable. You know, I was on ground. We had feedbacks on ground. I had people calling and asking, you know, how has this been going? You know, some of them people watching these kids and, you know, they've been thrilled. You know, what would you say to the viewers, you know, who have been supporting from social media physically? You know, how has it been? You know, like what commendation will you give back to them? And then, you know, looking forward into the next tournament, what should they be expecting?
Well, like I said, first of all, we thank them obviously, because without them, we're not going to get like the visibility which we have and everything. And one thing we can assure them is we're always going to get bigger. I mean, last season wasn't this way. This season is better right now. Next season obviously is going to be bigger and everything. Like you rightly said, a lot of kids, everyone is messaging, you know, on our social media, how can I join this academy? How can I do this? So myself and the team as well, we're looking for ways to, you know, see how we could even, you know, bring more people, bring more kids on board, you know, to do this thing, because usually it's just restricted to the 20 Npfl teams, the youth team and everything. So I mean, yeah, it's something which we're looking at, and we say very big thank you to the viewers and everything, to all fans, you know.
Yeah.
We
Puche,
appreciate
final
it.
word as a legal compliance advisor and officer. You know, what any coaches that just tuned in now, what should they know about participation in youth development, and what should they abstain from?
Youth development, don't be desperate to win. Be keen on development, be keen on grooming people. In the Npfl, we've always been keen on development. It's just the approach we take. We've tried different things in the past, and this is just one of the many innovative ways. That's why, like for instance, in the rules for the league, we have slots. Aside from the senior players that are registered, clubs can register as much as 5 players under the age of 17, you know. And we encourage them to do that. It's been like that over the years. In the past, we've even had the situation where we've had clubs, where we've encouraged the clubs in the Npfl to register their feeder team in the NLO, that's the 3rd division, the amateur league. So it's something constant. What we want coaches to do is basically, it's not just the coaches, in fact, I will also talk to the administrators. They see, I feel like administrators, coaches, everybody sees youth football development as a side show. They know it's important, but they think, okay, it's just something we should do. But they don't realize it's really
righteousness.
it's not a real righteousness. It's not a tick in the box event. It's not just one thing on your bucket list. It's something you should prioritize. I feel like they should prioritize it. And if a player is young but he's good, you shouldn't wait till he has the biggest of muscles before you try him in. Take a chance on these players.
All right.
Allow them grow.
Take a chance on these players. Allow them grow. It's been Uche and Larry from the Npfl giving us insights on the just concluded Npfl Laliga on the 15 promises that were held at Ikena. Also discussing alongside the development of youth football across Nigeria and Africa at large. Well, to those who are still watching, who just tuned in, we've been discussing the development of youth football across in Nigeria, and it's important, you know, that we prioritize it. Well, thank you, Uche and Larry, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We hope to see you more on the show.
Definitely.
Well, it's been Ayo Adams. I will see you same time next week. But you know what we do? We went to the street to ask the fans. Well, it's been a spectacular Champions League first leg between Inter Milan and AC Milan at the Milan Derby, Manchester City and Real Madrid. But one of the most significant performers of the week was Vinicius Jr. We went to the street to ask the fans if Vinicius Jr. can now be mentioned in the same conversation as Haaland and Kylian Mbappe. This is what they had to say. Once again, I'm Ayo Adams. See you same time next week. Bye-bye for now.
Definitely not.
I don't think Junior is the same level with them.
I'm not sure.
No, they are not the same level.
Vinicius Jr. is an outstanding Real Madrid player. To talk about his effectiveness, it's pretty much okay to say Vinicius can attain a certain level of creativity on the midfield, but he can supply when it comes to goal differences, very limited as compared to what Haaland would do in seconds.
You can see in the case of Mbappe against Argentina and France. You can see what Mbappe did now. Even going to the last matches at the final stage. You can see, I think, almost 3 goals that he scored, Abi, at the dying minutes.
Vinicius is a good player. So he know the wing, he know everything about football. He know how to pass and he know the way how to move from one step to another.
He's going to make the chances, but he's not going to make the finishing. Mean to score the goal. But Haaland, he keep on scoring because he's a striker. He's keep on scoring every time. He's making the good attempts. Just look at it. When he came to England Premier League, he has scored almost 35 goals. Let me say 35 goals. He has scored 35 goals right now. So you can't compare him with Vinicius Jr. Vinicius Jr. has been in Madrid for long, but he has not scored more. He has not even scored close to Haaland like this.
They are good attackers. When they're on the pitch, as a defender, you can't leave them at your back. You'll be wary of them. You can't leave your wing to them and free around. They will cause damage. Mbappe can run, Haaland can run, Vinicius can run, and they are good dribblers. And they are all good scorers as well.